The land was silent. The sky gave no wraith. A nation turned away from truth.
They were once guided, but they chose another path. And when truth was abandoned,
It was the story of a nation that turned away from Allah and began worshiping false gods. Then the rain stopped.
One prophet stood alone against hundreds. A challenge was set, and fire fell from the sky.
False gods failed. Truth was revealed. And when the people returned, the rain returned.
there was once a nation that turned away from the Lord of the heavens and bowed before lifeless stone. This was the same nation that once saw the sea split, yet forgot the one who saved them.
One man stood alone, facing 450 false prophets, with no weapon but truth.
Baal became their god, a stone idol they believed controlled rain and life.
Then Allah sent His chosen messenger, Prophet Ilyas, a light in deep darkness.
One man stood alone, without an army, without a weapon, facing 450 false prophets. On one side stood hundreds, on the other, only one. But Allah was with him. He did not fear their numbers, because truth does not need crowds. Falsehood stood in numbers. Truth stood alone. When Allah stands with one man, no army can stand against him.
This was not an ordinary nation. They had once witnessed miracles with their own eyes.
They were the people who saw the sea split open by Allah's command.
But as time passed, hearts hardened and remembrance slowly faded.
When blessings become ordinary, people forget who gave them. This story is not only history, it is a warning for every generation.
With time, Tawheed faded, and idol worship took its place.
They worshipped Baal, a lifeless stone they believed controlled rain and harvest. False prophets were appointed, men who spoke loudly but without truth. Even the king bowed to Baal and led his people into darkness. In that land, Allah's name became a crime, and idol worship became law.
Allah sent Prophet Ilyas, no ordinary man, but a chosen messenger.
When darkness spread across the land, Allah sent His light. His mission was clear, to pull people out of shirk and back to the oneness of Allah. He feared no throne, because he stood with Allah. He stood to remind them of a truth they had forgotten, but never lost.
Then he spoke with certainty. By Allah's command, the skies would close.
There would be no rain, not even morning dew, until Allah permitted it. They laughed, thinking the words of a single man could never silence the sky. The skies heard what the people ignored. What followed was not anger, but a test meant to awaken hearts. Days passed, then months, and the sky remained completely silent. The earth cracked, crops withered, and the land began to die.
Rivers shrank, Wells emptied, and thirst spread across the land.
They ran to Baal's temples, begging stone idols for rain. They cried out day and night, but Baal did not answer. Quiet whispers spread. What if Baal was never real?
This doubt enraged the queen, who ordered Prophet Ilyas to be killed.
But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected his messenger from every plot. When the world turns against truth, Allah never does.
In the middle of famine, Allah did not abandon his servant.
A woman possessed only a handful of flour and a little oil, nothing more. The flour did not finish. The oil did not run dry.
She trusted Allah and chose faith over fear.
Whoever trusts Allah, Allah creates a way.
3 long years passed, and the land stood broken under silence. Then Allah commanded him, "Now is the time to return."
Without fear, the prophet stepped forward to face falsehood.
History stood still, waiting for truth to speak. A message was sent. Gather your prophets. Today, truth will be tested. The nation gathered, unaware they were about to witness history. On one side stood 450 false prophets. On the other side stood only one man, firm, unshaken. Even the mountain seemed to wait for what would come next. Truth and falsehood now stood face to face. Then the Prophet's son proposed a challenge so fair that no one could object. 2 sacrifices would be prepared, one for Baal and one for Allah.
The God who answers with fire from the sky, that is the true God.
The people said, "This is fair. This is justice." The challenge was set. The heavens would now decide. The prophets of Baal stepped forward and began their rituals. From morning until noon, they cried out, "O Baal, answer us!" But there was no response, no voice, no fire. Their silence spoke louder than any words. As the day wore on, desperation began to consume them. They shed blood, but the heavens remained unmoved.
Their rituals grew wild, stripped of dignity and sense.
Even then, there was no voice from the sky. Falsehood stood exposed, powerless and silent.
Then Prophet Ilyas stepped forward and rebuilt the altar of Allah. He placed 12 stones, one for each tribe of Bani Israel.
The sacrifice was placed upon the altar, ready before Allah.
He ordered water to be poured over the altar, not once, but again and again. Everything was soaked. Only Allah's power could answer now.
The mountain fell silent as a servant prepared to speak to his Lord.
Without shouting, without force, he raised his hands to Allah. O Allah.
There was no performance, only truth standing before Allah. The prayer ended, but the answer was about to descend.
And then the sky responded.
Fire descended, not by human hands, but by Allah's command. The sacrifice burned, the wood vanished, even the stones were consumed. Even the water vanished, leaving no doubt behind.